On the news, President Buhari limits number of foreign trips for ministers. Military to withdraw troops from parts of Nigeria in 2020. Welcome to News Now. I am Fidelia Aguncha. The federal government has limited the number of times ministers can travel out of the country in a year. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, announced this at a press conference on Monday. According to the new directive issued by President Muhammadu Buhari, ministers can only travel out of the country 8 times in a year and twice a quarter. It also states that ministers should be accompanied on their trips by not more than 4 aides who should be relevant to the trip. Meanwhile, government officials below the rank of ministers are henceforth entitled to fewer aides, and ESTA code would no longer be calculated on hourly basis.
On the nature and frequency of travels, all public funded travels, local and foreign, must be strictly for official purposes backed with documentary evidence. In this regard, all foreign travels must be for highly essential statutory engagements that are beneficial to the interests of the country, except with the express approval of Mr. President. Ministers, permanent secretaries, chairmen of extra ministerial departments, chief executives, and directors are restricted to not more than 2 foreign travels in a quarter. Also, when a minister is at the head of an official delegation, the size of such delegation shall not exceed 4, including the relevant director, staff officer, and 1 aide of the minister. Every other delegation below ministerial level shall be restricted to a maximum of 3 people.
With just a day left to the end of 2019, the federal government has been reeling its major achievements for the year, with gains in the anti-corruption war topping the list. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at a press conference in Abuja, said the federal government secured over 890 convictions in 2019 alone, which is the highest in Nigeria's history. Mohammed also allayed fears that the country is nearing a debt crisis, as widely reported. Adeshewa Odushoga has more in this report.
As it is the usual practice at the end of every year, the federal government has presented a scorecard for 2019, detailing the progress of the Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. At this gathering of journalists, Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed reads out the government's successes as contained in a 24-page long document. Mohammed says efforts to tackle corruption has doubled after a report that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, recorded 890 convictions for the year 2019 alone, the highest since the administration resumed office in 2015.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, secured 890 convictions. This is the highest anywhere in the world. Recall that in 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018, the FCC was only able to secure 103, 189, 190, and 202 convictions respectively. The high rate of convictions in 2019 is in addition to the billions of naira in looted funds that have been recovered by the EFCC.
While highlighting successes in the economic sector, the minister decried a misrepresentation of the nation's debt status, allaying fears of possible debt crises, adding that the borrowing is aimed at revamping infrastructural development.
Nigeria's total public debt stock in 2015 was $63.8 billion, comprising $10.3 billion of external debt and $53.49 billion domestic debt. By July 2019, the total debt stock was $83.883 billion, made up of $27 billion of external debt and $56.720 billion domestic debt. It is therefore not correct to say that Nigeria's external debt alone is 81.274 billion.
The closure of the borders has been met with positive and negative reactions from Nigerians, but the minister further explained reasons behind the closure.
Some neighboring countries circumvent the ECOWAS protocol on transit. For clarity, the ECOWAS protocol on transit demands that when a transit container berths at a seaport, the receiving country is mandated to escort same without tampering with the seals to the border of the destination country. Unfortunately, experience has shown that our neighbors do not comply with this protocol. Rather, they break the seals of the containers at their ports and transload goods destined for Nigeria.
Since the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration returned to office in May 2019, it has introduced several policies aimed at improving the economy, fighting corruption, and improving national security. With 3 more years to go, the government has pledged to intensify this effort towards the full achievement of its next-level agenda. Adeshawa Odushoga, TV360, Lagos, Nigeria.
To security matters now. With effect from the first quarter of 2020, the Nigerian military will be withdrawing troops from some parts of the country. Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas disclosed this to State House correspondents at the end of the security meeting which held on Monday in Abuja. He explained that the withdrawal was to enable civil authorities to take over duties of ensuring the security of lives and properties in such places. The naval chief, however, noted that the withdrawal would be done only after an assessment of the situation on ground. He, however, assured that the military would comply with the president's directive to intensify efforts in the anti-insurgency war in the coming years. President Muhammadu Buhari had earlier in the day met with service chiefs who briefed him on the security situation in the country and progress made so far by the agencies.
It was generally agreed and noted that the security agencies have done their very best in ensuring that the deliverables are made clear. You recall that the various operations in the country, in the northeast, in the northwest, the north central, the southeast, as well as the southwest, where all the members of the armed forces are taking part, as well as the intelligence agencies, have ensured that we all enjoy a better holiday period that has just been observed. You also recall that for those areas that we believe the military has been able to achieve the desired objectives, that in the first quarter of next year, the civil authority will be preparing to take back those responsibilities as the military draws back on its forces in those areas to enable it focus its attention on other emerging threats and areas of concern.
Still on security, the Lagos State Police Command has paraded 2 suspects accused of hijacking a 40,000-litre petrol tanker along the Itire axis of the state. The 2 men who were paraded at the Itire police station on Monday, however, denied being members of a notorious petrol tanker hijacking syndicate, alleging that they were only hired to transport the vehicle to an unknown destination. This next report has more. In the wake of several reports on the activities of a criminal syndicate specialized in hijacking petrol tankers in the Itire area of Lagos, the State Police Command partnered with registered tanker owners and drivers to curb the trend. This partnership has begun yielding the desired result with the arrest of some suspected members of the hijacking syndicate. Parading the suspect at the Itire Police Division, Spokesperson for the Lagos Police Command, Bala El Kanem, briefed journalists on the activities of the group and police efforts to address the issue.
This is a syndicate that specializes in snatching petroleum product, hijacking the vehicle and taking it to some destinations where they discharge them. This is a truck that is built for Kontagora in Niger State. The product is meant for Kontagora in Niger State, and these guys hijacked it and they were taking it to a location in Ogun State where they also seem to have some buyers there. So we are working closely also with neighboring states where we think some other syndicate members are, to see how we can bring an end to this.
The suspect, while giving their side of the story, confirmed claims by the tanker driver that the vehicle was hijacked by men in military uniforms. They, however, denied being members of the syndicate.
A army guy called John called me on phone by 6:30 yesterday that I should come and drive truck for him. In my two, I told her I'm not a tanker driver. I have a friend that called Oster, who is a tanker driver. Then I called the Oster yesterday, went with Okada, reaching where the truck was parking inside of close to my two there. Then they told us to follow them and drive along with them before the police track us and then run away from their own car.
Getting to the truck, I met two hefty men on uniform, including some army guys. Two hefty men on mufti, with some army men around the corner of the truck. So,
How many army men?
about 4 of them like that, putting on camouflage. Then the man asked, why do you want to drive the truck? So I said, yes, okay, this is truck that I were going towards Maryland area, we'll just follow them from back. It's okay, no problem. So that's how we entered. So we are driving along, and it's a hold up there. 4 policemen came out and started harassing us. Even I was trying to tell them that our Oga, the man that sent us, is at the back, but I don't know what was happening. So they dragged us down. Before they could know it, all those ones ran away.
With information provided by these suspects, Lagos State Police Commissioner Hakeem Odumosu has now directed the commander of Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, to take over the investigation and ensure that the fleeing suspects are arrested and prosecuted. Fidelia Aguncha, TV360, Lagos. Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawalle has alleged that some individuals have concluded plans to break the peace in the state by sponsoring protests across the 14 local government areas in Zamfara. The governor made this known in a statement signed by his spokesperson, Zailani Bapa. According to the governor, these protests are aimed at causing disaffection among the citizens of the state. Zamfara has witnessed attacks by armed assailants who have sacked several communities and killed many residents in months. The attacks have, however, reduced since Matawalle assumed office. His government identified some of the attackers, which he described as bandits, and has held a series of peace negotiations with them. Well, the Ekiti state government has banned roadside trading and indiscriminate parking of vehicles. In a statement issued in Ado-Ekiti on Monday, the head of the State Road Traffic Management Agency, Olufemi Olarewaju, said the action had become necessary to reduce incessant cases of avoidable accidents, ensure free flow of traffic in all parts of the state, and give the state capital a facelift. Olarewaju also added that the use of wheelbarrows for hawking items will also be restricted, especially in the Ado-Ekiti city centre. Olarewaju warned tipper drivers against dropping sand and gravel by the roadside and urged the wheelbarrow pushers to relocate to the new markets such as Awedele and Agri-Kolokme in Ado-Ekiti. The government says it would commence the full enforcement of the roadside trading ban from January 1st, 2020. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed has denied reports making the rounds on social media that he is behind the sponsorship of the controversial hate speech bill at the National Assembly. The minister revealed this when he hosted journalists at a press conference in Lagos. Mohammed, however, reiterated that he is committed to ensuring the regulation of the social media bill, and the bill, he says, the social media, he says, is the major driver of fake news in the country.
You must have read the fake news attributed to Senator Fadamsi that I'm behind the hate speech bill at the National Assembly, and that this senator who is sponsoring the bill is just fronting for me. This is a typical example of the fake news we are trying to fight. I say categorically because I'm not the sponsor of the hate speech bill at the National Assembly. However, I'm committed to sanitizing the social media. I've said this before and have also invited all stakeholders to be involved in an attempt to bring sanity into social media so that we can stamp out hate speech.
Uche Nwosu, governorship candidate of the Action Alliance during the 2019 general election in Imo State, has returned to the All Progressives Congress. Nwosu, who is the son-in-law to Rochas Okorocha, former governor of Imo, had defected from the APC to Action Alliance when he could not secure the ruling party's ticket. Nwosu's defection is coming days after the Supreme Court ruled that he was not qualified to contest the governorship election in the state. Speaking with journalists over the weekend, he said the Supreme Court ruling on his double candidature confirms that he is still a member of the APC. He called for cordial relations among all APC members, adding that he has forgiven all who offended him during the governorship elections. We'll take a break here and return with more stories. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country. That was a very good business.
Yeah.
The furniture you brought was very perfect.
But that's how we roll.
Because then let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much was it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I doesn't do business like that now. Yeah.
Hey, that case, give me back my check. Let me go and look for someone that understand business.
Take.
Your loss.
But it is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get out.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
you will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people, make una only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no, not in my country. Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Let's now talk business. Onya Adekunle is standing by with details.
All right, thank you, Fidelia. A total foreign exchange of $58.01 billion came into the economy through the Central Bank of Nigeria within a 12-month period covering November 2018 and November 2019. This figure was arrived at based on an analysis of the foreign exchange inflow and outflow through the economy as contained in the economic report of the Apex Bank. An analysis of the report showed that while the economy recorded foreign exchange inflow of $58.01 billion, outflow stood at about $62.18 billion during the one-year review. This amounts to a 4.17 trillion naira deficit in foreign exchange during the one-year period. The main sources of Nigeria's foreign exchange inflows are crude oil sales and receipts from non-oil sectors. Meanwhile, a total sum of 611.5 billion naira was disbursed to farmers under the Commercial Agriculture Credit Scheme, CACS, from inception in 2009 till November 2019. The Central Bank of Nigeria disclosed this in its November 2019 economic report. An analysis of the number of projects financed under the CACS by value chain indicated that as of indicated that of the 596 CACS-sponsored projects, production accounted for 61.6% and dominated the activities funded, while processing accounted for 27.7%. These were followed by storage, input supplies, and marketing, which accounted for 4.7%, 3.3%, and 2.7% respectively. The CBN added that the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme guaranteed a total of 388.22 million naira to 2,125 farmers in November 2019. Engineers have been charged to serve the community in a socially responsible and sustainable manner. The charge was given by the creams of the engineers at the 2019 public lecture of the Nigerian Institute of Civil Engineers, NIC, in Lagos, with the theme Social Responsibility of Engineers for Sustainability of Our Environment. Leading the speakers, the Special Advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Works and Infrastructure, Engineer Monsura Adeyoye, explained that the capacity building and training must be given priority as it would help to enlarge one's knowledge in their respective field.
Professionals as possible to handle different areas, and I think if we have so many people who have gone through the mill, they are engineers, they should just take their space in the political arena. They have to. The time is now.
In any profession, there are rules, there are ethical codes that guide the practice of that profession, and engineering profession is not different. And so, more importantly, in engineering profession, we put public interest, public safety and welfare ahead of every other consideration. And that is what we call the social responsibility. That first and foremost, think about the effects of your work, your design, your ideas on the people, their health, their safety, their welfare, and then the environment. Because you don't want to do anything that will impact the environment negatively, neither do you want to do anything that will make it difficult for future generations to be able to carry on.
As civil engineers, it is our responsibility to make sure that our environment is safe, our environment is sustainable, our environment is peaceful, and our environment is clean. So what you're saying as the social responsibility of civil engineers to the environment means in every way where we give back to the society, we should be conscious of the returns, like waste that we generate. What is the impact of this waste to the environment?
Let's take a short break here, and when we return, with just less than a few hours left to the end of the year, we'll see how stock markets are performing. Let's take a break now. We'll be back. The last days of 2019 appears to be the best days on the NSE, at least from what we've been seeing in the past few days, as the market has been consistent with gains for the last two sessions. Last-minute bargain hunting pushed key market indicators up by 0.73% today, while market capitalization also surged by 94 billion naira to close at 12.846 trillion naira. In terms of market breadth, there were 24 gainers as opposed to 12 losers, and these gains were recorded by blue chip stocks led by Seplat, which posted the most gain today to the tune of 48 naira and 30 kobo. Nestle also maintained its spot on the gainers chart, consolidating gains from previous session as the value of its share price plunged from 1,430 naira to 1,469 naira 90 kobo today. Nigeria breweries also garnered some gains today, and of course the shares of Dangote Cement, which went from 140 naira to at the last minute trade, also closed the day advancing by 1 naira and 50 kobo. Conversely, the stocks that failed to keep their heads above water from the financial services sector, we see equities of Union Bank fell by 65 kobo, while the share price of CNI Leasing also saw a decline today from 6 naira to 5 naira and 40 kobo. Access Bank and of course Len Africa PLC also completed the list of 4 with a combined 14 kobo loss. And on the level of activity today, in summary, we see that 382.8 million units of shares worth a whooping 7.1 billion naira, and that's a huge lot when compared with 3 billion naira which was recorded in previous sessions. So the volume of of shares today, 382.8 million units, and that came in at 7.1 billion naira. And of course, the foreign markets, we see that let's just take a minute. We see that FTSE is down by 0.55%. Basically just bearish on foreign markets today. Nikkei 0.76% down, but this is actually good news when we actually see that this is actually the highest that the country, Japan now, has closed since 1990. That's year-end high. So basically loss for Nikkei today, but ended 2019 on a positive note. So that's it from here. Fidelia, it's back to you.
For that review, let's now move to the foreign scene. A Sudanese court has sentenced 27 intelligence agents to death by hanging over the torturing and killing of a protester earlier this year. According to the presiding judge, Sadok Abdurrahman, the defendants were found guilty of torturing Ahmed Al-Khair Awad to death at an intelligence services facility. Awad, who is a teacher, was beaten and tortured to death after he was arrested in late January by intelligence operatives in Kassala State in eastern Sudan. It would be recalled that thousands of Sudanese took to the street from December 2018, initially to protest against high bread prices, but the demonstrations soon turned into demand for autocrat Omar al-Bashir to step down. The president was ousted in April by the military, but protests continued and led to the formation of a joint military-civilian transitional council in August. The case marks the first time courts have handed down convictions over crackdowns on demonstrations in the months before and after al-Bashir was toppled. And in sports, Serie A club Roma has begun negotiations with US billionaire Dan Fredkin to buy the Italian club. The club made this known in a statement released on Monday. It said Fredkin Group was in negotiation related to a potential transaction involving NIP Roma Holding Spa and its subsidiaries, including AS Roma. According to reports, the 54-year-old Texas-based businessman will imminently take over as majority shareholder from fellow American James Pallotta in a deal worth up to 780 million euros. Fredkin is the chief executive of Fredkin Group and also the owner of Gulf States Toyota, an independent vehicle distributor in the U.S. And that's it on News Now. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.